Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. Marek, at the recent Parcel and Post Expo held in Frankfurt, we stopped by the Parcel Pending and you had a chat with Gary Winter. Do you want to just give us a little bit of a preview of what you talked about?
Absolutely. And this was a really good one. We were talking about the UK market. Remember, a lot of people say the UK market will never be a locker market. I think they're wrong. I think Gary would agree with me. And we're talking about what's happening there, why Quadient have got an opportunity with their open model. So I won't share much more because listen to the clip itself. I think it's a really good one.
All right, let's get straight into it now. Marek speaking with Gary from Quadient.
So, Gary, it's really great to see you at Post Expo. You've got a super stand, Parcel Pending.
Welcome to Locktoberfest.
But I wanted to talk about the UK.
Yep.
I remember about a year and a half ago, somebody said to me that the UK will never be a locker market.
Well, we're determined to prove them wrong. So we have announced our plan to put 5,000 fully agnostic parcel lockers across the UK in a variety of locations. So we want to put them where people live, where people work, where people play. So they're super accessible in a super dense network.
Look, when I hear agnostic, I love that. You know I'm a big fan of open networks. So tell me, why do you think, because a lot of people say open networks don't work, why do you think you can make it work?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One is I always look at the problem as if it was my problem as a consumer. So if I've got 4 packages to deal with, do I want to go to 4 different places? Do I want to trek around to different Pudos and parcel shops and whatever else? I don't. I want to do all my transactions in one go is the first thing. But also you've got to change people's behaviour. So I think personally, changing people's last mile behaviour, I know you're the last mile expert, but changing people's last mile behaviour is extremely difficult. Getting something more convenient for first mile is our first stop. I think people are ripe for change and looking for a better way to deal with getting rid of that return or sending that C2C item, getting into the circular economy and getting that package delivered is going to be their #1 priority.
I think it's great that you started with a customer, talked about customer experience, but I also think there's some other things because lockers have other benefits, ecological benefits, because that's really big news, and I think it's something that I'm sure you'll be able to benefit from.
Yeah, and the main thing is not making the locker a destination. If you put a locker in a really super exciting place, like a big railway station or a big shopping centre, you've still created a journey. What we really want to do is put them really close to where people live, where people are. So if you look at our network in Japan, we have the largest agnostic network in the world in Japan, well over 7,000 locations, 4,500 in Tokyo alone. So 95% of the population of Tokyo live within a 5-minute walk of one of our lockers, one of our Pack City lockers. What they call slipper distance.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
people will adopt it.
You've taken my phrase, which I stole from B-Post actually. So Gary, for an open network you need carriers. What can you share with us about that? Because this is going to be the big test for success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So setting up this network has been kind of like riding 2 horses at once. The horses of locations, so where you're going to put them, how you're going to find them, and keeping that horse in play. And then the other one is that where are the carriers going to come from? First question a location host says, who are your carriers? The first question that the carrier says, where are you going to put your lockers? And you've got to have good answers to both at the same time. It's very, very difficult when you're starting from scratch. But we are very, very proud to have announced DPD as our first partner. A couple of weeks ago we announced DHL as our second partner. And all I can tell you is there is probably even more exciting and interesting news in the pipeline. We're in an advanced stage with more than one more carrier. So as soon as we're able to announce those publicly, we'll do so. But it's kind of like they're the plumbing. We need to connect ourselves to the pipes of the volume in outbound and inbound from the lockers, otherwise none of it works. So we're really pleased that our agnostic approach really has been appreciated by some of the biggest names in the carrier industry in the UK.
Well, absolutely. Having French and German Post subsidiaries on board for a beginning is a really good starting point. So I think that's super.
Yeah, there's a big red company we'd like to coax in if we can, but I think that might take a little bit longer.
Tell me something, because I think the audience will be really interested to find out, is there any sort of sneak preview or snippets that you can share that people can only find out here at this interview?
Yeah, so I think we don't have it here today. We've got one of our normal lockers here today, but we're going to have an exciting new piece of hardware that we'll be deploying from this month, actually. So they will start to appear in our sort of pilot locations. We've got 100 lockers live now. We've committed to having 500 live live by the end of January next year, and between now and then we'll be deploying this new sort of bit of secret hardware.
Is there anything you can share about it? What's going to be different?
Well, we need to compete with Pudo, if you like, the manned Pudo. We've got some advantages. We've got 100% scan compliance. We've got much more reliability, a more data-rich experience, but we need all the functionality. So what I can tell you is our new locker will give all the functionality in a locker that you would normally get in a manned Pudo location, without the inconvenience of queuing and so on.
So here you have it. It's going to be basically an automated version of all of the functionality of a Pudo.
Yeah.
So I think
absolutely focus on first mile. Do you know there's this? I can never remember the figures. You probably remember it better than me, but there's a significant percentage of returns never get made because they drive around in the boot of somebody's car, and the 30-day return period expires because it's inconvenient to go and who wants to give their lunch break up to go and stand in the post office queue. And I don't mean our beloved post office in the UK. I mean post offices in the broadest sense. If you can make that experience convenient, you speed it up. People get their returns back quicker. They get their money back in their account quicker. They go shopping again more quickly. And the same with C2C. We're absolutely committed to the environmental message around lockers, and a big part of that is making it ready for its role in the circular economy. So we've got organisations that are, promoting the reuse rather than recycle of clothing, of electronics, of all this kind of stuff. Making that more convenient, getting more people involved with that is going to be more important than ever.
Well, it's great that you talk about that because I think the let's call it the second life whole aspect is really interesting, and lockers are super important because of the low cost of the item.
Yeah.
And I can even imagine that you're going to have maybe in the future an option where it doesn't actually get sent anywhere, but Gary and Marek live in the same district. You don't particularly want Marek at your house, so you drop it in a locker.
That's absolutely true, man.
And I then pick it up from the same locker. So that ecological element's important. And actually, I must raise this point because I'm really pleased to say that in 2023, we're going to have a new green last mile report, and Quadient, thank you, is the sponsor.
The prime sponsor, yeah. We're really pleased to do that because we absolutely are committed to that part of it. Yeah, we've won various awards for our corporate social responsibility at the kind of group level, but right down in everything we do, it's a key part of what we're doing. So we're very proud to be part of that.
Now, Marek, that's your discussion with Gary Winter from Quadient. Parcel Pending by Quadient is probably the best way of putting it. I know that you really want to let loose on this, so I will let you let loose on it. Parcel locker networks, carrier specific versus carrier neutral. You've just heard Quadient talk, or Gary talking about how they're setting up a carrier neutral network. You want to just sort of expand on that a little bit, please?
Absolutely. Why I'm particularly excited about this discussion is I'm a firm believer in open, agnostic, neutral, whatever we want to call them, networks. The idea being, rather than having 5 or 6 lockers next to each other, you have one locker serving everyone, which is efficient, less pollution, less congestion, less cost. So I won't repeat what we've said in the clip, but generally speaking, it's the way to go. I'm delighted that a big player like Quadient is looking at doing this in the UK. There are others, particularly in Austria, where we've got MyFlexbox doing something like this, but I hope it's a sign of things to come.
I think what's interesting about the UK market, we did a video about this a few weeks ago now. There's a link in the pop-out banner right there, right now, about how InPost and Amazon are right now, as we record this, they're the market leaders. But I think that there's another interesting part of this, which is going to be, for example, availability of space. And you mentioned about having separate lockers for each carrier versus having one locker. And there's some policy discussion about this, say in the City of London, looking at how does out-of-home delivery fit into the overall e-commerce delivery landscape. So I think it's a really interesting development in that respect. So we'll see how this plays out. Really quickly though, Marek, you touched on this in your interview with Gary, which was about people saying that the UK is not a locker market. Education of consumers, how does that fit into everything?
Education is fundamental. The more people understand that this is convenient, particularly if it's slipper distance, thank you, BPost, and it's ecological and it's smart, I think that's important. I'll just say one thing, coming back to your earlier point, Ian. Rafał Brzoska from InPost had, I can't remember whether it was an article or some kind of video recently in which he said that their key network, which is large and proximate, is working at sort of close to capacity. and most of the others are almost empty. This is the other thing that we're going to get, apart from all of the other reasons why you need one open network. If you have too many small networks, somebody is going to be inefficient, somebody's going to be losing money. Losing money, maybe that's their own corporate decision, but all of the other effects, the waste, the unnecessary free utilization, that's something that should be of public concern. And I'm looking forward to governments and local authorities getting more involved.
Thank you for watching this video on YouTube. Remember to hit the like, subscribe, and the notifications bell so you get every one of our videos published in your feed. So that when you log on to YouTube or when you open up your phone, you get a message. So there's a new video from us. Please help support this channel by hitting that subscribe button. Marek Różycki, thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone.